As businesses become digital and platforms like ONDC open up newer opportunities, the omnichannel supply network needs to be looked at closely. An omnichannel supply network is where a supplier is able to sell the products through multiple channels other than selling traditionally through a retailer.
For example, Apple and Samsung products, if you see, those can be bought through their own physical stores or their online website. So this is an example of what we call supplier encroachment, because supplier is able to use the traditional retail channel but also is able to use their own direct channel. In fact, only 42% of the suppliers have ability to sell directly to the consumers.
The study tries to understand the outcome of such a setup, where two suppliers are competing to sell their products through a non-exclusive retailer, and one supplier has a direct encroachment channel.
The reason why we wanted to understand this is because whenever we consider an omni-channel network, we want to understand how strategically these players are interacting with each other, and only then we can tell the outcome, the equilibrium outcome that will come after some time. So for example, in case of ONDC, if somebody wanted to answer a question, would all supplier want to be a part of ONDC, or is there a reason, or is there like a particular characterization of the market which will tell me, oh, this supplier is better off not being part of the ONDC supply network?
In a supply network, there are two kinds of competitions between its entities: horizontal competition and vertical competition. Horizontal competition is when two entities with similar roles, let it be a supplier or a retailer, in the supply chain, compete with each other. And if two entities with different roles like one supplier and one retailer are competing to share profit margins, then we call it vertical competition.
In an omnichannel supply network, what happens is these both horizontal competition and vertical competition will combine. Not only just that, it is the same player actually competing with the another player horizontally, and the same player is competing vertically with different player. So that's what it makes it a little complex and interesting at the same time, because a single player, in this case the Samsung, if she is competing horizontally with LG, and if she is competing vertically with Best Buy, for example, as a retailer, so in that case this is a strategic game, and then we need to understand how this game will play.
In a simple setup with a single supplier and a single retailer, where the supplier has the ability to encroach, the supplier is both vertically and horizontally competing with the retailer. It is already known from previous research that such encroachment does not necessarily hurt the retailer, because a direct channel is generally assumed to be inefficient. The supplier hence will reduce wholesale price for the retailer with the hope of selling her products through both retail and direct channels.
So in our problem setup, we wanted to actually understand what is more, what we see in practice. There is not only one product which is sold through the retailer, but there are multiple such competing products which are sold through the retailer. So in this setup, there is a sequence of the game that we need to consider. So first, both the suppliers will choose their wholesale prices simultaneously. Followed by that, the retailer can observe these wholesale prices and choose their order quantities. After that, only the Samsung, whichever has the ability to encroach, that supplier would choose their direct selling quantity.
While making her decisions on the encroachment channel, the encroaching supplier is not aware of both the wholesale price and the order quantity by other supplier. This information, endogenously limited by other players in the network, is an example of strategic information asymmetry.
And this leads to one of the key complexity in the model, that we cannot use most commonly used subgame perfect Nash equilibrium. Because of this complexity of the game, we had to come up with a new refinement of equilibrium using a notion what is called rationalizable actions or rationalizable beliefs.
Hence, considering the example setup, the study assumes the most rational belief a supplier like Samsung would have of LG's wholesale price and Best Buy's order from LG. This rationalizable belief provides an anchor for the players to create their consistent equilibrium beliefs, and thereby equilibrium choices.
In this problem, we have two kinds of substitutions. One is within the product substitution. So what is the substitutability between the Samsung phone as opposed to LG phone? So that's the one kind of substitutability. The other substitutability is channel substitutability, because the Samsung phone itself, when the consumer is trying to buy it from the retailer as opposed to their own Samsung channel, there is a substitutability between that also.
Studying the impact of product substitutability on overall interaction between the players, it is known that the encroaching supplier with highly substitutable products should also sell in the retail market along with her direct channel. This is because the supplier's direct channel is assumed to be inefficient.
But if you consider Amazon as a supplier, for example, Amazon Kindle product. So Amazon clearly has a very efficient supply network of them. So in that case, it's not the inefficiency of that encroachment channel which is leading for the sales of Amazon selling the product in the retail store, but it is something more than that.
The study clearly states the reason for this observation. It is found that even when the encroachment channel is very efficient, the supplier would still want to sell their product in the non-exclusive retail market in order to not lose their sales to their rival.
So on the other hand, if we consider luxury brands like Gucci and Prada, these products are not easily substitutable by any other product. So there is a low substitutability among the products. So if you consider these products, what our model says, should not be sold everywhere.
In case of low substitutability, selling products in the retail market in addition to direct channels leads to unnecessary head-on competition in retail channel from other suppliers. The study found that the encroaching supplier is better off selling only through direct channel than by entering wholesale pricing competition.
So what's next? So we want to now go back to the ONDC question and try to understand, when we have multiple suppliers in the game, who would want to encroach and who wouldn't. So let's start with a simple setup of what we've seen, a Samsung, LG and the Aspire setup. So Samsung, LG clearly are horizontally competing with each other, and only Samsung has the ability to encroach.
By creating a direct channel, Samsung would definitely benefit from the encroachment. But it is also observed that LG, the other supplier, might benefit from this setup too. This is because the encroachment channel creates additional horizontal competition between Samsung and Best Buy, and this benefits LG as well.
So this answers the question, if one of the player has already entered into market of encroachment, the other player may not want to enter. If both of them enter, in fact we find that both of them might be worse off than only one of them entering. And this goes back to the classic example of the prisoner's dilemma, where if both of them end up doing certain action, they're actually worse off. The best outcome of game is if only one of them enters the market. So this, I think, we will be very likely seeing in the ONDC market also. Some of the supplier will enter into market and the others would not. And this product substitutability and the channel substitutability will definitely play a role.